Good morning, Chairman. Can you unmute your phone? No. Can you unmute your mic?
Yes, that's better. Okay, thank you, Steve. You muted me as well as muting everybody else. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Lincolnshire County Council Planning and Regulation Committee. It is Monday, 18th of January 2021. Happy New Year to everybody who's viewing this and to members. It's 10:30, so with no further ado, I'm going to start the meeting. All members have been trained and are able to carry out the duties that are set out in front of them this morning. So I will start out with item number 1, which is apologies replacement members. I will do a quick roll call for the meeting, just to make sure that we know who is present. So when I call your name, if you can say something like present, and we'll ensure everybody is here. So I'll start off with Councillor Ashton.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Brailsford.
Present, Chairman, and as I said earlier, I have to leave the meeting just shortly before 11 o'clock. Thank you.
No problem, thank you. Councillor Corey.
Good morning, Chairman. Present.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Cooper. Not yet, I'll come back to Mrs. Cooper. Councillor McNally.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Newton.
Good morning, Chairman. Present.
I know, please, Chairman.
So, yes, Councillor Mrs. Overton.
Good morning, everybody. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Pepper.
Good morning, I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Reid.
Good morning, Chairman. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Renshaw.
Good morning, and I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe.
Present, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Skinner.
Present, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Spratt. Not at the moment. I'm obviously Councillor Fleetwood. I am present too, so it goes without saying. Councillor Mrs. Cooper, are you here? Okay, so do we need to do an officer roll call as well, Steve?
Chairman, can you, Mark Storer, I don't know whether you, don't think you mentioned his name.
I didn't mention Mark Storer. Is Mark Storer here? Okay, so we'll assume that Councillor Storer isn't here. Obviously, those members can join the meeting at a later point, and as they do come into the meeting, we will introduce them if they arrive. Do we need to do an officer roll call, Steve?
Chairman, just to announce the officers present at the meeting, Jan Gibson, Programme Leader, Minor Works and Traffic, Neil McBride, Head of Planning, Arthur Rees, Senior Solicitor, and Mark Willis, Applications Manager. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Item 2 then is declarations of members' interest. If you have an interest, you can declare it now or declare it later in the meeting, should you need to. Do we have any declarations? Okay, so we'll assume there are no declarations. Item 3 then is minutes of the previous meeting, and this was the meeting held on the 2nd of November 2020. Last year, seems like a long time ago. I'm going to propose them. They have previously been circulated. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second, Chairman. Nigel Pepper.
Nigel Pepper to second. Thank you. Do we have anybody who would wish to speak to them at all? Okay, so I will now do a very quick rapid roll call with regard to who is happy to accept the minutes. Councillor Ashton.
Agreed.
Thank you. Councillor Brailsford.
Agreed.
Thank you. Councillor Corey.
Agreed.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Cooper. Not present. Councillor Fleetwood, 4. Agreed. Councillor McNally.
Agreed.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Newton.
Agreed.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Overton.
Agreed, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pepper, I assume you're happy?
Yes, agreed.
Thank you. Councillor Reid?
Agreed.
Thank you. Councillor Renshaw?
Agreed.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe?
Agreed.
Thank you. Councillor Skinner?
Agreed.
Thank you. And I will say Councillor Spratt and Councillor Storer. No sign of those two yet. Okay,
Unanimous,
right,
Chairman.
it is unanimous. Thank you, Steve. So therefore, I'll move you on to item 4, which is traffic items. And the first one is 4.1, Grantham Cold Harbour Lane, proposed waiting restrictions. Jan, can you introduce the report for me, please?
Thank you, Chairman. So the first report, hopefully you'll be able to see, which is not the right report, unfortunately. Can you see that report now?
We can, yes.
Thank you. Excuse me. The first report is for proposed waiting restrictions at Grantham Cold Harbour Lane. We're proposing double yellow lines as shown at Appendix A in red. This was following concerns raised about the visibility at the junction being obscured by parked vehicles as shown on this photograph. We took the opportunity to clear out parking from that entire length of Cold Harbour Lane, which is quite narrow here. Accesses were being obstructed, so we've introduced the lights as shown. We did receive one objection from a resident concerned that they wouldn't be able to park on the double yellows while they moved vehicles in and out of their property. And also that removal of parking would increase traffic speeds. Our view is that the double yellow lines don't preclude that activity and in fact allow loading and unloading at any time. And also that safety at the junction was paramount. The recommendation, therefore, is that the objection is overruled and that the committee approves the public advertisement of this order. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I will move on to Councillor Pepper.
Yeah, just to say, Chairman, the proposal seems very sensible to me. Improving the visibility on that bend and junction. I mean, looking at the photograph, the bend looks more severe than what it does on plan, to say. But it's only a short stretch, and the object could park a little further down the road whilst vehicles have been moved on their drives. So, yeah, eminently sensible, and I'm happy to move.
Thank you. Quick look around my screen to see who else is in the chat. Sorry, seconded. Who was that, please?
Seconded. Councillor Newton.
Councillor Newton. Thank you. I am looking to see if anybody else would like to speak. Seeing nobody, I will therefore say that I offer this onto the meeting that it is proposed as written with the written recommendation. So I will offer this to the meeting. Councillor Ashton. Thank you. Councillor Brailsford.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Corey.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Cooper's joined the meeting, but I'm not going to allow her to vote on this because she joined part of the way through the item, but she will be able to join on the next item. Councillor Fleetwood, I am 4. Councillor McNally.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Newton, I assume you're 4.
4.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Mrs Overton.
4. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pepper.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Reid.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Renshaw.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Skinner.
4.
Thank you. That is therefore unanimous. So therefore that one is carried as printed. Moving on to the next item, which is the application at Stickney, which is the A16 proposed puffin crossing facility. Can we have an introduction, Jan, please?
Thank you. Stickney's situated just north of Boston. The A16, where the proposed crossing location has been marked on Appendix A, is covered by a school safety zone currently, which advises a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. The school is located off Hall Lane here. The shop is located on the east side, near to where the crossing is proposed. There's a doctor's surgery further south and a secondary school beyond that. So we carried out a pedestrian crossing survey, which indicated that a zebra crossing, the criteria for a zebra crossing was met. However, where traffic flows are high, we're not able to use zebras. So the recommendation here is that the committee is able to approve the upgrade of the crossing to a puffin crossing. Currently, a school crossing patrol operates at this location. So the recommendation is that the committee considers the criteria and supports the submission of a funding bid for a feasibility study and design for a puffin crossing at this location. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Renshaw's indicated he'd like to speak.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I used to live in Boston years ago, and I used to travel this road quite regular. And since I moved to Lincoln, I've also travelled that road quite regular, and it surprised me that it's gone on this far, because coming out from a national speed limits area and into the village of Stickney, and I know it is phased, it goes into 40 first of all when you start getting where the houses are built. Then clearly by the time they get round the school, traffic should be down to 30 miles an hour, but I'd imagine that it's certainly not. And so I fully support this facility, because it's not only during school hours that residents need to cross, because as you say, there's a doctor's surgery on the one side, so there will be people need to cross that during different hours. So I fully support that facility and hope it can be installed as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ashton.
Thank you very much. First of all, I've been asked to convey my apologies for Councillor Wendy Bokett, who's the local county member for Stickney. And just to add that Stickney is in my district council ward, although I don't represent the county, so I do have some good knowledge of this area and the ongoing campaigns around getting a facility here. Just to be clear, I haven't personally been involved in these proposals, so I'm able to approach this with a clear and open mind. But I'll just add what I'm sure Councillor Bokett knows if she's able to join us this morning. She's got another meeting. This is something which people locally in Stickney have been asking for and would have liked for a period of time. Historically, the challenge has always been that there are two schools and therefore two theoretical crossing locations. And it is delightful to see that common sense has prevailed, and it's better to have one crossing place between the two theoretical best ones, so to provide people with that safe means of crossing the A16 between the school side and the shop side to the east. So I think there's a lot of merit in that, and I agree completely with Councillor Renshaw that this is a location that it's an obvious location for something like this. School crossing patrol, as you can see, is an operation there, and it will make a genuine difference to people locally. It will improve the state. If you look at, you can see some of the pictures on our screen at the moment, that there are bends there. It's not that obvious. If you've got cars around those bends, then you can usually hear them before you can see them, but you can't. The sight lines are not brilliant. So, I can't just remember whether Councillor Renshaw moved it. If he moved it, I'll second it. If he didn't move it, could I please move it instead? That this goes forward. And I'll just again say a huge well done to everyone that's been instrumental in bringing this forward, particularly Councillor Bokett, who I know has spent a lot of time on, and likewise the officers involved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll move it, Chairman. If So,
that's Councillor Renshaw, was it?
yeah.
So, okay, so we'll assume that Councillor Renshaw proposed it then, so therefore it will be Ashton to second. Councillor Mrs Overton, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to ask for a bit of understanding on policy, because I don't recall us saying that we can't have a zebra crossing where the traffic's high. How high does it have to be before you can't have a zebra crossing? And what impact will the difference make between a zebra and a puffin crossing? So just some technical questions. I can understand why. I mean, there might be it might be better to go for a puffin because that's more achievable. I don't know, and in that case I would support it. But I'm just a bit surprised to hear that policy. Perhaps it could be explained a little better for me. Thank you.
Thank you. So Jan, can you highlight that one for me, please?
Yes, thank you. In table 1 in the report, it shows the thresholds at which we can justify crossing facilities. As I say, for this site, we attained a PV squared value that fitted in with 0.85, which corresponds with the zebra crossing facility on table 1. But it says if there's more than 500 vehicles per hour, we wouldn't use a zebra. Now, this is mainly because if you get very high traffic flow, zebra crossings present a slight safety hazard and create a lot of delay for vehicles with the stopping and starting. So we are able to go to a more robust type of crossing facility in these instances, which is why I am suggesting that the committee takes that action.
That's really helpful. I see. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I have, if you can put your hand down as well, please, Marianne. You've got your hand up still on screen. That's excellent. I can't see any other speakers either in chat or with a hand up. So therefore, the application is proposed by Councillor Renshaw, seconded by Councillor Ashton. I will therefore put it to the vote. Councillor Ashton.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Brailsford.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Corey.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Cooper. She was in the meeting. I don't know if she's left. Okay, I'll come back to Mrs Cooper. Councillor Fleetwood, I am 4. Councillor McNally.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Newton.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Overton.
Thank you. 4.
Thank you. Councillor Pepper.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Reid.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Renshaw.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Skinner.
4.
Thank you. Now I'll go back to Councillor Mrs Cooper. I don't know if she's in the meeting still or not. Okay, with all the people that have voted, though, it is unanimous. So it's clearly carried. So we'll therefore accept that one and move on to item 4.3, which is to take us to Roman Bank Skegness proposed waiting restrictions. Jan, when you are ready, please.
Thank you. This report relates to proposed amendments to waiting restrictions at Roman Bank, a long road some distance from the sea front. We're proposing to rationalise a lot of the restrictions along this entire length. The original request came from our design services for an extension to double yellow lines on the northern end, associated with improvement works that are ongoing in the area. So we looked at our log of requests, and we'd had a request previously for a revocation of waiting restrictions adjacent to residential properties on the southern end of Roman Bank. So we took the opportunity to look at all the restrictions in the area to amend them as required, principally to extend the period of waiting in the limited waiting bays to 1 hour. So it was felt that 30 minutes wasn't really long enough for visitors to visit businesses and shops. So we've also, if you like, tidied up the area. We've changed some of the weighting restrictions to make them all compatible or the same as each other, so that to avoid confusion for visitors and residents. Now, the objection we've received relates to the area here, detailed at Appendix B. The objectors suggesting that the disabled parking bay shown in purple here would be replaced with a loading bay to assist businesses with deliveries. We did look at the potential for loading bays in the area, but the pressure is such on parking that we felt the existing provision for loading was sufficient. Loading can take place at any time within the existing limited waiting bays and on the double yellow lines. Whereas if we remove this provision for blue badge of approximately half adjacent bays on Redmond Bank badge holders. Our proposal, therefore, is to extend the existing disabled parking bay into a single waiting bay, and then provide beyond that, and then the existing provision for limited waiting bay stays beyond that. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anybody indicating they wish to speak at the moment. So I would agree that it is good to have a level of uniformity within the area. It will remove confusion. So therefore, it seems like a good idea to me. I will propose the report.
I'll second it, Chairman.
Seconded by Councillor Brailsford. Would anybody like to speak to the report? And I don't see anybody wishing to speak. And that is fair time. So therefore, I will offer it to the meeting that it is proposed as printed by myself, seconded by Councillor Brailsford. All in favour. Councillor Ashton.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Brailsford.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Corey.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Cooper.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Fleetwood, I've proposed it. I am 4. Councillor McNally.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Newton.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Overton.
4. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pepper.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Reid.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Renshaw.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Skinner.
4.
Thank you. That's excellent. So therefore, it is unanimous and therefore carried as printed. Item 4.4 is Walesby Road, Market Raisin, the proposed 30-mile-an-hour speed limit extension. Jan, when you are ready.
Thank you. This relates to a request for a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit extension on Walesby Road, just to the northeast of Market Raisin Town. Currently, a 40-mile-an-hour limit exists along the length shown in blue to Appendix A. The committee will know that the level of speed limit is determined by the mean speed of traffic. We took 2 surveys, one to the north and one to the south. The 43 mile per hour mean speed to the north indicates that 40 mile an hour limit is appropriate at this point, whereas the survey further south gave us a result of 34 miles per hour. This is within 3 miles per hour of the level stipulated for a 30 mile an hour limit and therefore may be regarded as a borderline case. Therefore, recommending that the committee approves this extension of the 30 mile an hour limit as shown at Appendix B as a borderline case so that we can begin the necessary consultation process. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I don't see anybody wishing to speak, and probably being the most local member to this area, I am going to propose the application.
Councillor Ashton, Chairman.
Thank you. Obviously, I go to Market Raisin a fair amount, being relatively local. Councillor Ashton.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Again, looking at this, it's a proposal that will make a huge difference to people living in what is clearly from our maps still a residential part of Market Raisin, and give a better effort in slowing that traffic as it's coming into that area as well. I'm pleased it's supported by policy. It's been demonstrated to be a borderline case. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm very happy to second this item.
Thank you very much. I don't know if I have any other speakers. I saw a hand go up. I think the hand might have been taken down. I've nobody in the chat channel. So I'll give everybody an opportunity to speak to the report. Seeing none, I will therefore. Steve?
Sorry, Chairman, is this you indicating to speak in the chat column, or I think it is, isn't
it? No, it's Councillor Corey, I think. Councillor Corey.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't know what's going on, but I did press my little sticky hand up. I know Market Rasen quite well. I went to school there, so I know this area, and I think the proposal is eminently sensible. And had Councillor Ashton not already done so and spoken so well on it, I would have seconded it. So I'm happy to do so. I'm happy to support the paper. Thank you.
Thank you. I did see your hand go up a little. Well, I saw a hand go up, but I didn't see you indicating any hand along the bottom row. I can't see the full committee on my screen. You've still got your hand up though, Lindsay. And I think I've got one person raising their hand. That's now gone down. So anybody else wishing to speak, now is your option. Right, I will put it to the vote. Proposed by myself as printed, seconded by Councillor Ashton. Councillor Ashton, how do you feel?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Brailsford?
I'm for, Chairman, and I'm now going to leave the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for attending. Much appreciated. Councillor Corey?
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Cooper?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Fleetwood, I am for. Councillor McNally?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Newton?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Overton?
For, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor
Apologies,
Pepper?
I'll need to leave as well.
Okay, thank you for attending. Councillor Pepper?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Reid?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Renshaw?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Skinner?
For, Chairman.
Thank you. So on that basis, it is unanimous and therefore carried as printed. Item 4.5, the last of the applications, takes us to a proposed bus stop clearway at Old Main Road, Fleet Hargate. The floor is yours, Jen, when you're ready.
Thank you. So Fleet Hargate is situated to the east of Holbeach, just off the A17. Our proposal is for a bus stop clearway to operate between 6 AM and 9 PM daily. The location shown at Appendix A. There is currently a bus shelter and raised curbs at this location, and our observations have shown that parking regularly takes place in this area, which means the bus cannot draw alongside the raised curbs so that we can use the facility as intended. Objections have been received from nearby residents on the basis that buses will obstruct their accesses and also prohibit them from parking outside their properties. Our view is, though, that there is plenty of other alternative places to park on street and no other restrictions in the area. But we need to introduce a bus stop clearway to enable us to use the bus stop marking so that we can utilise the facility the County Council has invested in properly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Pepper, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just to say, I know the area, I know the vicinity of this proposed bus stop markings, etc. It's a sensible thing to do, so I'm happy to propose it.
Thank you. Do I have anybody else that's relatively local that would like to second? Councillor Ashton.
I am not that local. I'm not at all local to this location, so I'm happy to give way if someone else more local to it would like to second. I'm simply going to say that, again, looking at this, it's a very obvious thing to if the most that we're asking people to do is walk a little bit further from where they're parking their car, it's not going to do them an awful lot of harm. Given the experiences that I've had in my own area in Stigsea, with enforcement and bus stops and so on and so forth, and I'm more than happy to give my support any efforts to improve this in a different area. So I'm very happy to second.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Newton.
Thank you, Chairman. It's just down the road from me, and I'm happy to support what Councillor Pepper and Ashton said, and formally second it if Tom didn't. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom did actually second it. If you can,
okay.
Yep, no problem. If you could put your hand down now, please. Thank you. I only know the area as being part of the A17 and going through to Gedney and beyond, I think is probably the best way to put it. Long Sutton, when you're going through to Suffolk, Norfolk. So this is an area of Lincolnshire I am not 1,000% clear with. Okay, having said that, though, I do support the report and I do acknowledge the need for the clearway there. Okay, seeing nobody else wishing to speak, I will offer it to the vote. Councillor Ashton.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Brailsford has now gone. Councillor Corey.
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Cooper.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Fleetwood, I am for. Councillor McNally.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Newton.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Overton has just left the meeting. Councillor Pepper.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Reid.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe.
For.
Councillor Renshaw. They didn't miss you there. Thank you. Councillor Skinner.
For, Chairman.
Thank you. So therefore, again, that is unanimous and therefore carried as printed. Thank you, Jan and traffic officers. We will now move over to the planning agenda part of the meeting. So, item 5.1 is a county matters application B200436. Can I have an officer introduction, please? I assume it's going to be Mark.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, members. Yes, just bear with 1 second. Just wait for the presentation to load.
Sorry, I'm a bit quick for you today.
Yeah, a bit slow this morning, unfortunately.
There's too many gins over Christmas.
Okay, hopefully everyone can see that now.
Yes, that's excellent.
Okay, so the application takes us to Fossdyke, and this is a proposal for the redevelopment and improvements to an existing waste onion storage and composting facility. Just to talk through the first few slides, the location of the site is the corner of a arable field, which is approximately 880 metres east of Fossdyke village itself. The site is accessed off Thompson's Lane, which is a single track, unmade track leading to this facility only. And the nearest residential property is approximately 370 metres to the southwest, located at the entrance of Thompson's Lane. In terms of the proposal, as I say, the application is seeking to redevelop and improve the infrastructure that's present on this site. This site's been in use for the storage of onions since around the mid-1990s. And the site itself comprises of two areas of hard standing and a lagoon. And the proposal is to lay and expand the site by creating another composting pad with a formalised leachate storage lagoon. Again, it's just to talk through the slide here. You can see the application site and the access of Thompson's Lane, and you see the nearest properties there, just in the left-hand side of the picture there. This is an enhanced view of the site. You can currently see the area of composting pad and the storage area and the small lagoon in the bottom right-hand corner there. This is the proposed redevelopment of the site, which I say includes expansion into the arable field, laying down of a new lined concrete pad and a new proposed storage lagoon for the treatment of leachate that runs off from the site. The site will accept around 10,000 tonnes per year of waste onions, which will derive both from the applicant's own business, but also the applicant does import onions. So there's a potential for third-party materials to therefore arrive into the site, hence the need. Some photographs here just to give some context. The top left-hand corner shows the entrance onto Thompson's Lane from Wash Road, and again you can just see the residential property in the background there, which is the nearest property to the site. The top right-hand picture is an entrance off the entrance into the site, and you can see there just as that entrance says, the public right-of-way runs left to right directly across that entrance. The bottom picture is a view back from the site looking towards Foster Village, and actually shows the unmowed track there of Thompson's Lane, which is a substantial length of about, say, around 380 metres to the entrance onto Wash Road. This is a view of the existing site. You can see the concrete pad area, and the top right hand picture shows you the current arrangement insofar as the way onions are stored. And the bottom pictures also. This proposal seeks to improve the processing opportunity process on site. It will expand the site, allowing the onions to be stored in windrows, which is members will be familiar with the traditional composting, green waste composting arrangement. That enables a more aerobic conditions to exist, and therefore facilitates in the breakdown of the onions. So it's a movement away from perhaps the traditional method in which this site is being used. In terms of the, just check there's not, I don't think that was the last slide. Yeah. In terms of the report, as you will go through the report, you can see that there's been no objections raised from the Borough Council, the Environment Agency. The Parish Council has raised no objection, but made some comments with regard to access and traffic, which I'll come on to. There's been no objections from the Highways Officer or the Environmental Health section, and Public Rights of Way have raised no objection but recommended that a condition be attached regarding signage just to forewarn users of the public right of way that crosses the site entrance. In terms of consultation, we've had 11 representations received from local residents within the area, which raise objections and concerns about the site. A lot of these relate to the historical issues that they've had in the past, in particular with regard to odours and the site attracting fruit flies. There's been comments also you'll see within the report raised with regard to traffic movements, and in particular early movements of traffic to and from the site, which passes through the village, resulting in disturbance. But in terms of the overall recommendation and conclusions, you can see how they're pulled together on page 46 onwards. The proposal itself, as I say, seeks to formalise the redevelopment and improve the existing site in terms of its on-site infrastructure. This application presents an opportunity to put planning control on the site, which currently is non-existent. And in terms of locational aspects, the site is deemed appropriate insofar as it's located a suitable standoff from residential areas, akin to what we would expect for composting facilities. And it's located on previously developed land and would utilise onions that are derived from a local area, and that the product would be spread on the surrounding farmland. In terms of the objections, as I said, issues have been raised with odour, but as I say, this application presents an opportunity to put controls on the site. The application is supported by an odour management plan and a fruit fly management plan, which puts procedures and measures in place to reduce issues. And as I say, the change in the process and operation that's facilitated by expanding this site should also improve the previous issues that's been experienced. The additional space allows, as I say, open windrows, which provides better breakdown of materials, reducing therefore hopefully odour issues from the site. And finally, with regard to traffic, as I say, issues have been raised with regard to traffic movements. The site has been unregulated in the past, and therefore no restrictions have been placed with regard to traffic movements. However, as part of this application, it is recommended that a condition be imposed which would limit movements to and from the site. And you can see there's a condition recommended in the report that does that. So overall, it's recommended that permission be granted subject to the 10 conditions that are identified within the report on page 50. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mark. I have two speakers for this application. First of all, the applicant, I believe Mr. Lewis Smith, followed by Councillor Mike Brooks, the local member. We can afford up to, I believe, 3 minutes for you to address the committee, and potentially the committee might wish to ask you some additional questions based upon whatever you might say or that are relevant to the application. So, without further ado, Mr. Smith, Lewis, are you here, please?
Yes, Chairman.
Excellent. So whenever you are ready, sir, we can allow you to address the meeting.
Thank you, Chairman. Just briefly, Alder Shores is a well-established yet modern and progressive farming company that continues to promote sustainable farming practices whilst meeting the demands of the customer. The company now provides 25% of the UK's onion consumption, and the existing operation off Thompson's Lane makes use of the waste onions and dry outer leaves or shale to create an onion compost, which is then applied back to the applicant's farmland. The application for members will see the current arrangement improved through the addition of a larger concrete pad, which will enable efficient windrow composting, a process which members will be familiar with. In addition, a new replacement covered lagoon will capture the runoff, which will continue to be used as a liquid fertiliser on the applicant's farmland. Inorganic fertiliser is costly to produce and transport, and so the reuse of organic arisings from the production of onions represents a logical and highly sustainable way of applying nutrients back to the land and improving soil structure. Another significant advantage of applying the onion compost to the land is that it is a scientifically proven way of breaking the cycle of onion white rot, which is a plant disease and the onion farmer's worst enemy. Waste onions are brought to the site using agricultural tractors and trailers and put in large piles, as has been the case for over 20 years. With the new concrete area, it is now proposed to tip the onions into long 2-metre high windrows, which are turned each week until material is ready to be applied to the land. By increasing the area of concrete available for the composting, the compost dries more quickly, which reduces the production of odour and fruit flies, which can occur during the summer months. The site can currently accommodate up to 10,000 tonnes of onions each year, and the proposal won't see this increased, but simply dealt with in a more efficient and environmentally friendly way. We have provided a detailed odour impact assessment and odour management plan, which sets out how the operations will be managed, and in the event that planning permission is granted, the composting regime will also be the subject of an environmental permit issued by the Environment Agency. To conclude, Chairman, this is not an entirely new proposal, but one which represents a series of measures to improve the existing process on site, which will continue to support the existing farming operation and represents an improvement for the local environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's 2 minutes 35. Well done. Do we have any questions? Actually, Councillor Renshaw, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Chairman. On page 39, point 8, it refers to the percentage of onions processed each year. It's a question for the applicant. How does the applicant envisage that increasing disproportionately? In other words, to a very high level, which would cause major disruption to the area. In other words, is the amount of tonnage processed rather, governed by the UK market?
Thank you, Councillor. Through you, Chairman. Currently, you noted in my presentation that the site can accommodate up to 10,000 tonnes. At the moment, that isn't the case, and allowing us to produce up to 10,000 tonnes of compost will provide sufficient headroom in the event that there is fluctuation and an increase in the marketplace. But we don't envisage that the amount coming into the site will go beyond the stated 10,000 tonnes in the application.
Thank you very much. Councillor Skinner.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I really applaud the, let's say, environmentally friendly techniques of farming. I do, however, have one question regarding soil structure, knowing what's in and around here, because the 1972 Reservoir and Lagoon Act says that you shouldn't put reservoirs on running silt. And I'm just going to ask cautionary if there's a band of running silt through here. Thank you.
Chairman, I'm afraid I can't answer that. I'm sorry. I'm not a geologist, but I can only say that there is an existing lagoon on the site, which is due to be replaced as part of this application. The applicant has been in dialogue with the Environment Agency over this proposal, and we certainly haven't got any objections from them about the improvements proposed as part of this application.
Mr. Chairman, I have actually come across before where we've had an existing lagoon elsewhere and somebody put an application in to put a bigger one, only to find they shouldn't have built it there in the first place. I'm just thinking purely of the environment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, seeing no further speakers, thank you very much, Mr. Smith, for your comments.
Thank you.
Local member then, Councillor Mike Brooks.
Thank you, Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank the officers for the report. I think it's a good report and it's a good presentation. The site has been the subject of complaints over the years, which about odour and flies and fruit flies, and which I'm well aware as a local member. But that is with the current operations. So like the residents, I had concerns about this application when I first saw it come in. I had concerns that it was going to make the situation worse. However, having read the report and looking at the application, I can see that the application is an improvement on the current operation and does allow us to regulise the activities and to place controls and conditions on the site operations, which should give us more ability to be able to act on any complaints that we might get in the future. So that more control over the site does give me a certain amount of comfort. There is an odour management plan and a fruit fly management plan, all as part of the application, which forms part of the application, and also the complaints about early traffic through the village, 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. That's dealt with on the hours of operation, being limited to 700 hours to 1,800 hours. So, in conclusion, from myself, if this didn't go through, we would still have the current operation and potentially the issues that we've had with this site in the past, which are difficult to control. So I do think that this is an improvement. There's more ability for us to take action in the future due to the controls and the documented processes. So for those reasons, I'm supportive of the application, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I will offer the committee the opportunity to interrogate Councillor Brooks should they wish. No. Any comments from Mark at this stage?
No, nothing from me, Chairman.
Okay, so therefore it's open to committee, and I will ask who would like to speak. Councillor Skinner, you've indicated earlier. Did you want to have another? No, right. Okay.
Thank you very much for that, Chairman. I'm quite happy to proposed it, as long as the situation regarding the geology is checked out. So, you know, it makes eminent sense.
Thank you very much. So, Councillor Renshaw.
Thank you, Chairman. I was going to say, to repeat what Mike Brooks said, that, or somebody else said, about the sustainable aspects of it. And it's a really good exemplar of good practice of keeping businesses sustainable local by not transporting fertilisers from one end of the country or even other countries to the UK. It's making us more self-sufficient, and I think, as I say, that's got to be an exemplar for future practice, not only in Lincolnshire but in the greater UK. So it's a great badge for the company to be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you can turn your hand off as well, please, on your screen. Thank you. Do I have any other speakers? Quick look down. I obviously have control of it at the moment, so therefore I'm quite happy to second the report. It would seem a sensible thing to do and a good way to keep the carbon footprint as low as possible in this current climate that we're working through, the environmental climate. Anybody else wishing to speak? And I'm looking hard. I see nobody, so therefore it is proposed by Councillor Skinner, seconded by myself, that we grant the permission as printed. Councillor Ashton, how do you feel?
I'm in favour, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brailsford has left the meeting. Councillor Corey.
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Cooper.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Fleetwood, I am for. Councillor McNally.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Newton.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Overton has left the meeting. Councillor Pepper.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Reid.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Renshaw.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe.
For.
Councillor Skinner.
For.
Thank you. That's excellent. So therefore, that is clearly carried. So thank you very much. That one is great. And thank you, Mr. Smith, for attending. Quick look down my agenda, and I think that's virtually the last thing I want to say today, apart from, as you might or might not know, this is Steve Blagg's last meeting, and I'm sure he's going to blush when I ask him to minute my comments with regard to what I'd like to say with regard to Steve. Steve has been an excellent worker, an excellent committee clerk, an excellent person with regard to this committee over the many years he's served us. He's guided me through all sorts of things, even today in the background. It's just so useful to have agenda items just popped up in the chat channel so you can see where speakers are coming through. Steve has helped me so much during the many years. I'd just like to personally thank him with regard to what he's done for me and for the committee over such a long time, and also to wish him a happy retirement in the future. Thank you very much, Steve. If we're in the meeting, we'd all like to slap you on the back. We can't do that. So,
yeah, thank you.
In the future, and thank you.
Thank you for your kind words, Chairman. It's been a pleasure to serve members and the Planning and Regulation Committee. I do like the Planning Committee, Chairman. It's a very practical, simple committee, and it's been great. We've had some. I think my standing member, Chairman, and you'll remember. I don't know whether other members were there, but the meeting at the drill hall where we had the planning application for the storage of oil and the Welton, where we had must have had about 300 members of the public there. That stands out to me as the real big one. But we've had some big ones in the past, but that one is the ultimate. But yeah, so it's been a pleasure to serve members, Chairman, and thank you for your kind words. Thank you.
Yes, I remember that meeting very well. especially on the basis that I was chairman of the meeting. The recommendation was to grant the permission, and
Yes.
I stood to one side, allowed my vice chairman to chair the meeting, and then gave 26 reasons to refuse it and overturn the recommendation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it must have been an interesting meeting for you to minute, if nothing else.
Absolutely. I mean, I dread to think, Chairman, if members had actually supported the recommendation, I think we would have had a full-scale riot on our hands that day.
Well, I'm sure it would probably made your pulse race more than it does when you're riding your bike, Steve. So
yeah, absolutely.
Good luck for the future. And thank you ever so much. It's very much
pleasure. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? There we go. The mics have gone on. The hands are clapping.
Yeah. We've got it recorded. Yeah.
Yeah. Minute that, Steve.
Yeah, I will do.
Okay, so
All
without further ado, great to see you, and I'll see everybody else potentially next time we have a meeting. Meeting closed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.